Hi, welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to embark on this journey with me to love our husbands and love our children well. And today the topic I want to hit on is one that isn't our favorites, most of us I would say, but it's necessary, and it's patience. Some people maybe don't have a whole lot of trouble with patience, but I do. I always have. I would say as I'm getting older, it's probably a little bit easier for me. I contribute that some to just life experience probably, and part of it, I would say maybe the bigger part, is my faith walk has, maturing in my faith has helped me be more patient. And again, I think some of it is just life experiences that you have experienced, that when you are patient and wait for what you know is right, then you end up seeing the fruit of that. And that then helps you the next time, maybe when you're struggling with it, remember back to the past experiences. So patience is one of the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5. I think some versions of the Bible actually list patience. I typically use the New King James Version, and it lists long suffering, which I believe patience is a part of long suffering. I don't think that's all long suffering is, but I would say patience falls into that. And again, I think some Bible versions do maybe call it patience as one of the fruits of the Spirit. I'll take a moment here and tell you, I will be looking around. I'm at a park. My son's over playing on, there's like a Ninja Warrior type little layout that he's over at. So I will be looking over there to make sure he's doing okay. So I'm going to hit patience, I would say, mainly from the aspect of being patient and waiting for the right man. And that can be really hard. So obviously, before you have the husband that you need to love, you need to have the man you're going to marry. And I think a lot of us are not patient. I know I was not patient. I didn't even know about, the biblical aspects of it back in my early years. But I got into several bad relationships, and they do affect your future. It ends up affecting your relationship with your husband, because when you pick the wrong people, and then even if you have a decent relationship or the split is mutual, there's still hurt feelings. There's still what we hear of as baggage that goes along with you, and you do carry that into your next relationship. Even if you think you're not, I would say most people do. There may be a small minority out there that it doesn't affect the next relationship, but I would say most people it does. So if you're patient and wait for the right one, you're going to have, when you find that one, it's going to be a much better relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have challenges and struggles. You can't join two people together, two people especially that were raised maybe differently, even if your families had common values, morals, the way they handle things, there's still going to be differences. You're two individual people. I mean, even look at a family that has multiple children raised in almost, pretty much the exact same environment. I mean, parents deal with different kids in different ways, but you're still in the same environment. And look how different siblings can react and how there can be friction just within a family that's in the same environment. So when you bring two people that were raised in different environments, even if they have similarities, you're going to have different views on things. One family did things one way, the other did the other way. And when you come together, you got to figure out what's going to work for you guys. And I think in that aspect, communication is going to be your biggest helper, because you can't just assume that the other person thinks everything should be done the same way as you do. And that's a pitfall I think a lot of us fall into. I mean, even being married 16 years, some of this stuff I'm just really figuring out. So bad relationships, if you aren't patient, and even if you're patient and you really think the other person is the right person, now, first of all, I don't think God will lead you to the wrong person. So it's whether you wait on God to show you the person or not. But say you really think somebody is the right person. You wouldn't have heard from God if it's not the right person, but it's just going to be a much better relationship if it's the right person. So you definitely want to wait for that. Now, you may not have a horrible relationship with the wrong person, but there's going to just be so much more blessing when the two people come together that I believe God has somebody in mind for us. Now, if we get into the wrong relationship and we do get married, I do believe that once you marry that person, unless there's a biblical reason for divorce, God doesn't want you to divorce that person, and he can still bless that marriage. I just think it might be more work on the two people's part, and hopefully they're both willing to work at it. So I can look back now at relationships I had before I got married. Well, before I married my current husband. I was married when I was very young, and I mean, before I was even really a Christian. I grew up in church, but I would not say I was a Christian. Yeah, that's just not a road to go down. I don't recommend it for anybody. It left me to the point where I did not want to get married again. And I was reading the Bible one morning. I had started getting up early every morning to read the Bible before I went to work. And I was reading one morning. I was sitting in my chair reading the Bible. And to this day, I don't even remember where I was at in the Bible. And I heard God speak. I felt God speak to my heart that I would have a son and what I was to name him. And shortly after that word from God, I thought, oh, this means I'm going to be married again, because it wouldn't be God's will for me to have a child and not be married again. So, and just an FYI, the name that God gave me for my son, that is what my son's name is. My husband was okay with that name, and so that is what we named him. So, once I knew that I was going to be married again, then I started having this desire for marriage and for a good marriage. And that's actually where this channel, the idea for it stems back, all the way back to that. I knew someday, I had no clue how, when, but I knew someday I was to do something to help marriages. So, as this desire grew in me, I pretty much told God, I'm not going and looking. You're going to have to bring him to me. Well, there was a guy or two that were interested, and I just knew they weren't who God had for me. There was just some things about them that weren't necessarily bad, but I knew that's not what God had for me. So in the past, I would have gotten into those relationships, but I knew they weren't the right one because of one or two criteria that I don't really want to go into, because again, they weren't bad things. So I don't want to put that out there for somebody, because it may not be what God is calling you to or calling you away from. So how did I meet my husband? Well, when God had spoke this to me, I had bought a house. When a friend took me to house hunting, she took me to the street that I bought my house on. And the house across the street, she actually took me because she had known it was for sale. So that's why she had taken me to the street. That house had sold, but the house across the street from it, which is the one I ended up buying, was for sale. Funny thing is, the house that she took me to see that was no longer for sale, my husband's parents had bought. And one of the times that I was there, I don't know if it was the day that first time I saw the house, or one of the times that like my dad or somebody came over to look at the house with me. My in-laws were moving in and my husband was there helping them, but I don't remember ever seeing him that time. So anyway, I'm moving into this house. I'm working, just living my life. And on December 19th of 2008, I think it was, I took a Christmas tray over to what it is now my mother-in-law. I would make Christmas trays, still do, for the neighbors. And I had taken it over to her that night after we both were home from work. Her husband worked second shift, so I knew she was there by herself. And I was there visiting with her, and she said, oh, my son's coming by when he gets off work. Yesterday was his birthday, so I'm taking him out for supper. I said, oh, okay. Well, then I ended up going home, and he had parked in the back, but I saw him because they came out to her vehicle to go to supper. And that was the first time I remember seeing him. So, fast forward to 2009. We officially met in August. He had temporarily moved in with his parents, so I was seeing him every day. And we'll just say we got to know each other. And we got engaged then by Thanksgiving of that year, and we were married the next May 1st of 2010. So, has it been all puppies and kittens and rainbows because I was patient? No. We came from two very different backgrounds. And while I wouldn't say that we don't have different views really on things, by and large, definitely not the important things, but sometimes even if you don't really have a problem with your spouse, remember, I think I said it in my first video, maybe my second video, you marry that person's family too. And sometimes there can be some issues that arise because of things that they may do. And I may do a video after this one on that. I don't want to get into any specifics because I don't want to like out anybody, or if they ever come across this channel, I don't want to make them feel bad. But I think that this is stuff that before you get married, you should probably talk about it. Obviously, you can't talk about every little thing that could come up because you'll never know. But I think that having some kind of guidelines about how you're going to deal with quote unquote outside family might be a good idea. We did not have that. It was nothing I had ever thought about. And again, a lot of these videos that I make are going to be about, you know, lessons from things that I've gone through, good or bad. And if I can help somebody maybe not go through what I've gone through and, you know, just have a little bit easier time, then that is what this is about. To have a better marriage, to love our husbands better, love our children better, be more available to them, because when there's hurt, it's hard, and it can create distance. It doesn't have to, obviously, but why go through things that maybe you don't have to? So, in closing, I want to thank you again for joining me. My name is Sherry, and I hope you got something out of this patience video. You know, it's so important to know when to be patient. And maybe I'll do a video on learning when you don't need to be patient. Like if you get a word from God and he says now, do it now. But usually he's going to give you time, and you can have some patience to, you know, verify that you're hearing right. So again, I will see you on the next video. Bye.